Well, Jeff, the last principle, principle number 7, children need to be enjoyed.
Yep.
And so this is the negative example, which we have oh, 20 years of
Mhm.
history of negative examples of parents not enjoying their children. What's your thoughts when we talk about this negative piece?
Well, as always, when we talk about principles, I want to explain the idea of principles. This is something that's going to be working in every single family. Either you're going to use it positively or you run the risk of it being used negatively in your family. But children need to be enjoyed by their parents. So when we walk into a family and we see, and over the years, we worked with a lot of families with traumatized children. So, you know, to be honest, this is a very difficult principle to enact
Mhm.
in those positively in those circumstances. But we have a list of things here that we often see in families that are ignoring this principle or at least not using it intentionally.
Yeah,
The first thing is parents who just avoid being close to their children,
they don't even
emotionally
like to,
close.
well, sometimes they don't even like to be physically close either.
Yeah.
So they'll sign them up for a variety of activities so that they can get them out. And the parents thinking, well, at least if I'm not enjoying them, somebody else is. And they're learning some skills in the process. But that's not going to help have this child heal.
And we can tell this when we ask parents about their children's lives. How
Hmm.
do they get along with this? How do they enjoy it? If you don't have answers to those questions, then you may actually be emotionally and intellectually not as close to your child as you need to be. If you're
Right.
going to enjoy them, you have to be close to them.
Hmm.
Um, then there are parents who have a lot of adult activities and they just don't see the value in sharing the children's activities all that much.
Yeah. Sometimes that could be a generational thing. That's the way
Mhm.
their parents operated. So they have this internal expectation that, well, this is the way to do it. So, kids should be seen and not heard. They should go out and play.
Mhm.
These are adult things. And the, there's such a divide between the parents and children. The children don't have those intimate experiences with their parents then.
I'm not saying adults shouldn't have activities like Lions Club or Rotary Club or you know
And,
volunteer firemen, those sort of things. They have a place in our lives,
mhm.
but when they're overscheduled sometimes or they place too many demands on us, they can take away from our ability to enjoy our children. So we see parents, uh, I see especially dads very
Mhm.
often. They get involved in other things outside the home which cuts down on their ability to actually set up enjoyable moments with their child.
Yeah. I think the next one on the list is always very problematic for me of infants and toddlers being left in cribs or playpens for days. And
Mhm.
I know of with some of the kids we've worked with, but even long periods of time, hours, I had someone say to me when my kids were really young is, just take that kid and put it in a playpen. It'll be fine. And just put them in there. You can leave them in the morning, feed them lunch, get them down for the nap, then they go back in the playpen again. And again, that's maybe a generational thing as well.
I'm, I'm tempted at
So,
this point to mention the modern playpen,
yeah.
which is just a little
Oh yes.
video screen.
Oh, we were at the beach a couple weeks ago, and there's this mom pushing her child in a stroller on the beach, right next to
Mhm.
the ocean, and there's an iPhone propped up in front of that child in the stroller on the beach. I was like, you know how hard it was for me not to just, it was awful.
Now, what those do, what the playpen does, and what the video screen's doing in those situations, is they take the child's attention away from what the adults are doing,
Hmm.
which can be very comforting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it reduces that ability for those little moments when the mom makes eye contact and talks to the child and is just I'm so happy to see you play in there something like that, where the child feels enjoyed by the parent because
Yeah.
they're basically their attention is being captured and placed somewhere in particular.
The other day we'd gone out to breakfast and it was a mom and dad on one side of the seats and the two kids on the other side. And the kids were probably like 4 and 6. And until the food came, there was no conversation with the kids because both kids were on electronics.
Mhm.
And it's like, how can you enjoy your child because there's no relationship building going on here? So that's a big one for me.
And there's families who actually give up
Mhm,
one of the designed moments in every day to enjoy each other.
mhm.
This is set up in every family across the world. You have these opportunities to eat together.
Oh,
And what these families do is they eat together in front of the television.
mhm.
Basically, they take that natural inclination to look at faces while you're eating and they transfer it to a screen instead of each other. And they just sacrifice the moments
Yeah,
of enjoyment of
yeah,
each other.
yeah. They're actually having more of a relationship with that person on the screen.
Hmm.
That they're enjoying that person. Well,
And don't think for a moment
okay.
that the TV people don't take advantage of that.
Mhm.
There are certain faces that cause us to feel certain things,
Yeah,
and they are intentional about putting those faces on the screen.
I know. We have worked with families where moms have, and maybe dads have said, but I know moms in particular is my goal was to be like X family on TV. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh man. So, along with that, can I say there's also the parents who are either sending their kids to their rooms for long periods of time or allowing the kids to isolate in their rooms for long periods of time.
The, the anti-principle of children need to be enjoyed is children need to be seen but not
Not
heard.
heard, right?
You know, um, if you're truly in those moments of enjoyment, you want all of your senses involved. So
Hmm.
that's just a really bad statement. Children need to be seen but not heard.
And then, just the value of routines and rituals in families
Mhm.
allow the child and the parents to be together in these things and enjoy each other in that. Whether it's a routine, we do this, you take your bath, I comb your hair afterwards, or I read you a book when I'm tucking you in. These are times the child's actually being enjoyed.
In my family, the family I grew up in, we did Christmas and we did birthdays.
Hmm.
Other than that, wasn't a whole lot of celebration,
Mm.
you know,
Hmm.
of our presence in each other's lives.
What about report cards? We now see, I guess
Well,
because
they were not celebrated in my,
well,
for me.
I was a good student, and even my sister at times when she struggled, it became more of a joke about.
Mhm.
It's just okay. That's just that's just my sister. We would laugh about certain things. Wasn't that she felt enjoyed even in those periods of time.
My goal in school was to not fail.
Hmm.
That was good enough. I had somewhat low bar. It would have been good if my parents could have enjoyed that success, even that with me. You know, well, congratulations, Jeff.
You did not fail.
Seems like a low bar to me, but you did not fail. You passed. Well done. That would have been if they could have done that with a smile. That would have told me they enjoyed being my son, as
Hmm.
opposed to being some high academic son.
Yeah, yeah. So, I think from our years of working in mental health, most of the families we worked with during that period of time only focused on negative behaviors. We would go
Mm.
in and there was like, tell me about your kid. Wow, they did this, they did that, they did something else, and negative behavior, negative behavior.
Often while the child was just sitting there listening to
Right.
it. Yeah.
Well, and then my other pet peeve is so you go in, you talk to the doctor, psychiatrist, or behavior specialist, and there's this, let me tell you how bad my kid is. Well, the kid is sitting there. The
Mhm.
kid is not being enjoyed. The kid is actually now cementing, and I'm just a bad kid. That was really, really
Not saying we can
difficult.
ignore bad behaviors. We're not saying that that has to happen. But what we are saying is there has to be a counterbalance. There also has to be a recognition of the good behaviors too,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
things that are enjoyable.
yeah.
And the child has to perceive that in the
Mm-hmm.
parent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Well, I think the next one you did really well with about building in those routines in
Mhm.
your family to have fun.
Yeah, I noticed when um, um, I was raising my boys that we weren't together enough.
Mhm.
They were in play practice, karate practice, They had their academics to keep up with, especially when they hit 16. Then they had jobs,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera. And we weren't together. So one of the things I introduced is the concept of family night at that point. Granted, I probably should have done it much earlier, but and during that time, it just made it a family rule that we would not schedule anything during that time, that day
Mm-hmm.
of the week, during that time, because we were all going to be together no matter what, and we would be doing something fun.
Mm-hmm.
So what we look for, or what we see as problematic, is when families don't schedule
Right.
any fun time at all, any time to enjoy each other at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
It's
know,
not a priority.
no, it's just
Yeah.
not something that needs to be scheduled.
Yeah. But I know the next one on the list was so frequent in families where there was no laughter.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, serious, angry, critical people.
Mhm.
And, they just were in such a downward spiral. Nothing was positive, but there was no laughter.
Yeah. If you find your children are inherently funny, I mean, they used to do a TV show. What's
Yeah, the children
say
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 the
the
darndest
darndest thing.
things. Yeah.
They are funny. If you look at your family life and you say, you know what, I haven't laughed with my child for I don't know how long, then you might be you might be abusing this principle in your family home.
Yeah. Well, there's also the idea if you ask your kid what makes my parent happy, as and I know a few people like that. Well, nothing makes mom happy, you know.
Hmm?
How can you enjoy your child if you're not a happy person yourself? How can how can you do that?
So they don't know, and I mean, inherently, what they do is they want to make their parents happy because that's how they feel good about themselves.
Hmm.
So if they don't even know, if they
Yeah,
can't answer that question, you know,
yeah, yeah.
and the sort of a companion to that is that um, you see children that don't come to their parents
Hmm.
to share happy experiences. Parents who have to say, "Well, how was your day?"
Fine.
No, I want to know something about it.
It was fine. I went to school. I did my work. I came home. There was nothing to it.
Now, if you're truly enjoying the child on a regular basis, what we found is that children will actually come to you and say, "Oh, this is what happened today.
Yeah,
I got called on. I didn't know the answer, and I thought I was going to be embarrassed, and all of a sudden it came to me, and I just spouted it out. And the teacher actually said I was smart.
yeah.
Now the guys rode me for the rest of the day, but they share those moments
Hmm.
because they know they're going to get a shared experience with the parent, which is going to come back to them, and they're going to feel enjoyed
Hmm.
in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. The last one on the list, I think, is one of the most important from the many years of working with these
Mm.
families, is the fact that so many times parents will sacrifice all joy just to consequence their child for some kind of misbehavior. And it goes, the downward spiral is so big by that point. It's like, the kid could have spilled their drink at dinner, some truly an accident. It's like, okay, that's where you're going to be making a mess at the table. Just go to your room for the rest of the afternoon. We're not going to go to the park.
Yeah. How many times do we ask, what do you guys do for fun? Well, we go to the park. Excellent. When's the last time you went to the park? Well, we can't.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because Jimmy's always on consequence.
Mm-hmm.
He's not allowed to go to the park because of his bad behavior. And of course, we can't take the rest of the family to the park because
Yeah.
he has to be consequenced. If we
Right.
take him to the park, then he'll learn something awful.
Yeah. Yeah. He'll know
And,
bad behavior equals going to the park. So he'll just make.
and at that point, it's hard for people to realize that you have now prioritized consequencing
Right.
over enjoying your children.
Yeah. Yeah. How much, how different would that child's behavior be
Mhm.
if they found that they were enjoyed by the parent, and would their behaviors start changing?
Now, don't get us wrong. Every family system has moments where you don't enjoy each other, where you're irritated, you're tired, you're exhausted, and you don't really have the potential to enjoy your children or be enjoyed by your children. But in general, the principle needs to be recognized and utilized positively. So any of these things on this list might be part of any family at any given point,
Right.
but If you've heard yourself in a lot of these things, and you have some of these situations where when you ask yourself, I don't think my child could tell what makes me happy,
Right.
then you might be in a situation where you need to recognize this principle and be more intentional in its use within your family.
What's nice is you can be more intentional and
Hmm.
start changing your whole family system when you start working on that positive side of reinforcing that your child is lovable and can be enjoyed.
And remember, the goal of this is actually we become our feelings about them become their feelings about themselves. So are they good? Are they valuable? Are they enjoyable?
Yeah,
That's what we're actually creating here.
you're building your child's sense of self.
Now, join us for the next video where we're going to talk about what it looks like in families that do positively utilize this principle, or what does it look like when we're leaving a system.
Yes, thank you very much.